Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how knowledge is the new currency. And this title is actually incorrect because knowledge has always been currency, but I kind of just want to put things in terms that people will understand. Maybe if you're searching for ways to leave your 9 to 5, or if you're searching for ways to make money, I think that what I'm about to talk about now is going to give you valuable perspective and why knowledge and learning is so powerful and how you can, use it to gain more capital and to help others too. So I'm really excited about this topic. I'm going to jump right in. I got my notes written. Um, and yeah, I'm just going to jump right in. So, knowledge is the new currency. So, we know that we have money. If you live in the United States, we have the dollar bills. All of that is fake, right? All of that is just basically pieces of paper. And because of the faith of the people, or because the people of the United States believe in money, it operates as currency, right? But anything can be used as money. I could have cowrie shells, which were the first form of currency, gold. A lot of people think that our money is backed by gold here in the US, and it actually isn't. And it hasn't been since like the 1930s. And it's a very interesting history. So I do encourage everybody to kind of do your own research, like when it comes to money and when it comes to just learning about currency. But the main thing that brings wealth is knowledge, right? So I kind of want to give this in the perspective of somebody, like I said, who's going from consumer to producer, right? So if you just kind of been going with the status quo, you don't really question things, you've just been consuming content and buying. Now I want you to take the consumer lens off and think about this conversation from the perspective of somebody who wants to produce, right? I think that that's really important because, if you, how can I say this the right way? If you take away money, all you would have is the transfer of skills and knowledge. So that's why it's so important to learn. And genuinely, I wanted to title this Learn or Die, but I feel like that was a little bit too intense. But that's genuinely how I feel. There are fewer practices that are as lucrative as teaching. And again, in the US, I know that it's like not the case. And people say, oh, teachers make the least amount of money. If you're teaching under an institution or working with the government, or you are an employee, of course, right? Teachers are not paid well, they're not compensated well, they're stressed out a lot of the times. Schools are understaffed. But if you come from it from an education standpoint or an educator standpoint, where like how I'm talking to you all right now on Zoom, or I post my videos on YouTube, you can then monetize that and make money. So you can learn something, you can take on a subject or take on a discipline, learn about it, and then create something to help others learn about it or help others get involved in it as well. And you can set your own price, you can set your own hours, you can do consultations, you can post for free on YouTube, whatever you want to do. So I think that's why it's so important. And it's actually crazy too, with the advancement of technology. Now more than ever here in 2025, we have the ability to, and the reach to really put our message out there or put what we're learning out there, and it's going to hit the right audience, right? Because before the internet, or even just a couple of decades ago, the internet was, most people had, a computer, a family computer that was in a central location. You log on, you log off. That was a real thing. Now, 20 years later, we are definitely in an era where the internet does not sleep. People are online perpetually, and there is always somebody looking to learn something new, to get into something new, something, people want something to help them change their situation. So I think if you take on a discipline, or if you know a piece of knowledge, or if you know how to do something, you need to share that with the world, and you need to start looking at the things that you learn as currency, as opposed to just random information or random things that or whatever the case may be. And once you switch into that mindset of, okay, I have knowledge, this knowledge has power, and this power is something that I can use and redirect to to my benefit, right? Once you get into that perspective, your whole life and your whole world is going to change. And I'll give you guys an example. I used to be a flight attendant. I don't know why there's this weird perception of flight attendants and that they make a lot of money, but it's not true. Across the board, it's seniority based. So you're starting out on the bottom of the totem pole. Even larger airlines like United and Delta only pay around $30 an hour. And I think that's kind of high. So, and again, I don't know your guys' background. So you might be thinking $30 an hour is a lot, but let me get to my point, right? So I worked as a flight attendant. I was only making I think like $25 an hour pre-tax, so it was less than that after tax. I was making $800 about every 2 weeks, and it was tough to survive. And immediately after the first couple of weeks, I was like, "I can't keep doing this. I need to figure out another source of income. I need to figure out something else." And what I noticed is that a lot of people wanted to become flight attendants, or a lot of people wanted to, kind of get assistance with getting an interview secured or getting, some type of job secured within flight attending. So with that knowledge, I took everything that I knew. I learned about ATS systems when applying. I learned what keywords and phrases to have in your application. I learned, throughout even my own process of applying, what people needed to do in order to make sure that their application went through, and with that knowledge, I then took it and I started to offer services for resume editing and helping people get jobs as flight attendants. And it took off and it went really, really well. I secured jobs with Delta, with United, for other people, Spirit Airlines, Frontier Airlines, pretty much every major airline in the United States. And it was really cool to see, and after that, it kinda just snowballed, I was just like, "Wow," the extra $25, $35, $45 here I would get with the resume really helped, and I thought, "What else could I do to make more money?" So I started learning more, I started learning about grants, and then I became a grant writer, and then I started helping people get money for their business, $5,000, $10,000, $25,000, and it just slowly started to add up, and you start to get these sparks and these ideas, so I say all that to say you're not gonna start off when you start thinking of knowledge as currency, it's not gonna be some big major or it could be, but most likely it won't be a huge major like idea that is going to get you billions of dollars, right? Sometimes you're gonna start small, right? Let's say that you are a stay-at-home mom and you're just like, I have this knowledge of, the do's and don'ts of being a stay-at-home mom, and I have, different things that I've learned and different things that I do with my children or that I do around the house that can help others. You can literally start posting on YouTube and making money from that. You can make a guide on how to become a stay-at-home mom, how to quit your 9 to 5 and become a homemaker, etc. And I'm using this as an example just because I know that that's something that's really popular right now. But and you could take this with anything, right? If you are a mechanic and you work in a car shop and you see a common problem with the cars that come in, you can literally start suggesting or teaching others how to fix this problem and then make money on your own. Because what's happening right now, and this is really the point that I want to get to of why it's learn or die. What's happening right now is that we are in a technological boom, right? That's no secret. We have AI, we have different just so many different technological tools at our fingertips right now to where things are becoming easier and easier and easier. People are spending less and less time on certain tasks and able to open up their schedules for different things. So, people went from researching and writing and maybe taking 6 hours to complete something or to write a paper to now being able to do that within an hour. And I'm not saying that using AI is good or bad. I'm not pro AI or against AI or whatever, but the simple fact is that it's here. And so you see a lot of people, older people, and even people my age too and younger, getting upset saying, oh my gosh, like, these jobs are going to be taken over by AI and we're taking the human out of all of this and da 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 da. And, what's going to happen to this? What's going to happen to that? You see all these layoffs that are happening in tech companies and even just it's kind of infiltrated like multiple disciplines and multiple career paths, this AI thing, and it's a big shift that's happening, and a lot of people like to see it as negative, and I'm here to tell you that it's not negative. It's supposed to happen. We are supposed to evolve, right? So we're supposed to go from, and again, think of this from going from consumer to producer, right? So we are not meant to sit and be doing these medial tasks over and over and over and over and over and getting a barely survivable paycheck every 2 weeks. And you know what I'm saying? Like these things that are happening, these advancements that are happening within our society are supposed to push us to be able to do more, right? So we have to get creative. You have to evolve. You have to adapt. You have to learn. So if you're one of those people who's just like, oh, I don't care, I'm not, I think that this is evil and I'm used to doing this way and that way, it's just, you're not going to make it. It's literally do or die, learn or die, right? And a lot of people are just surviving right now, right? Because we're kind of in, I don't want to say the middle of the shift, but there's like a paradigm shift happening and we're kind of like moving within it. And I think it's a lot, there's a lot more things that are going to change. But if you're one of those people who's just like totally against new ideas and new ways of doing things and you don't want to learn and you learned what you learned then and you only do the bare minimum, it's going to be very, very hard in the very near future for you to survive and be able to do what you need to do. Um, Another thing that I want to mention too is, let me see if I can find it here. Technological advancements. Oh, so another thing that I want to mention too is, how can I say this the right way? When these things are happening, I don't, I'm gonna save that for another time, actually. I'm gonna save this for another time, but yes, the overall theme that I have for this video is that the knowledge that you obtain and the lessons that you learn can literally be used to generate income, right? Supplemental income at first, and then it could replace your income, and then it can surpass the income that you used to make, but all of these things can be used for your benefit, for your betterment. And okay. I think I will mention this too, because I don't think that it needs to be in a separate video, but it also allows you to help others. When you share what you've learned, you know that saying that's like you feed a man a fish and he'll survive for a night, and you teach him how to fish, he'll survive forever, like whatever. However it goes, y'all forgive me. But when you start putting what you learn out there and you start helping others, you're really fulfilling your purpose. And this can be with anything. A lot of people think that it needs to be through self help or personal development. It literally could be with anything. Like if you are a fashionista and you know the different, body types and what certain people should wear and what they shouldn't wear in order to get certain things, you can do that. If you are a lawyer and you want to teach people how to speak legalese, you can do that. If you like, even for me with the flight attending, like most of my peers when I was flight attending, they kind of just took it and there was a lot of complaining, and that's kind of why I left the industry as well, because I just feel like it was very negative, and it just didn't feel, it felt like everybody was there, people would stay there for 25, 30 years, build up their seniority so that they were making $50 an hour after 25 years, you know what I'm saying? And then they would retire and they would have their flight benefits for life, but it's like at what cost? You know what I'm saying? And after, even in my own business, after I hit my first $1,000 day and then I hit another $1,000 day, it's just like these little things started to show me how valuable knowledge is, right? Because everybody can't do everything, right? There's only so many hours in a day. People have obligations, people have kids, they have work, they have households to take care of. So any information that you learn that can help somebody, or any good or service that you can provide, literally could change your life and change somebody else's life, right? And I just think that it's really important that we start looking at knowledge as currency, and that we stop thinking that, "Oh, well, I did my 12 years of school, or I did my bachelor's degree, I did my undergrad, so I'm pretty much just done." And I think a lot of us have an aversion to learning. I know I did. Let me speak for myself, actually. I had an aversion to learning after I graduated college. First of all, I went to college just because that was the thing to do. You graduate high school, then you go to college. You go to college, you have an opportunity to get a higher paying job. And those higher paying jobs were 20 to $25 an hour, which is pretty much, it's not great, right? Here in 2025, if you're making $25 an hour pre-tax, you're not really making that much money. You're making more than somebody who's making $15 an hour, but it's really not that much better, and it's not enough to thrive. It's enough to survive, but it's not enough to thrive. So if you're like me, you went to high school, went to college, you graduated, and then you kind of just were like, okay, like, and I think that's something that our parents were trained to do from their parents, because at one point college was important. At one point, learning and getting to a certain level in school guaranteed you a better life, but that's not the case anymore. We see like there's a decentralization of knowledge. Now you can take a course, you can take a free class, you can study research on your own. Now half of the time the material that is in schools is not even relevant by the time you graduate. The books are outdated, it's not current information, you know what I'm saying? So all of this to say that education is different now, and if you have an aversion to learning because of going through school or the United States school system, educational system, like, really try to get out of that. Try to learn something every day that piques your interest. Try to get into topics that pique your interest. Like, right now, I'm really into learning about etymology, spirituality, universal laws. Obviously, those things aren't taught in school for good reason because they want you to be an employee, but after a certain point, you know what I'm saying? I'm 29 years old. So if you've been saying this about learning and education, like, well, I just don't want to, and at some point you have to take responsibility. At some point you have to say, okay, if I'm almost 30 years old, or however old you are, however far removed from school you are, if I'm almost this age and I've disliked learning simply because it was taught to me in a way that was not beneficial to my growth, at what point am I going to take a hold of the wheel and actually teach myself or actually learn things that are beneficial to my life so that I can help others? Right? Because that's the entire point. Like I said, with AI, with technology, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people are getting scared. They're getting nervous. You see a new robot coming out all the time that's doing these different things. And it's just like, you still have control, right? You don't have to be scared of a robot or some AI data entry system taking your job and making you obsolete. You will never be obsolete. You have a brain, you have creativity, you can think. Okay. So yeah, I know that was kind of all over the place, but I pretty much am saying all this to say, use your knowledge, use your power, be creative, okay? Even if it's in the most like niche and unique ways that you think nobody's going to get into or nobody's really going to listen to, or oh, that's not something that somebody needs. I promise you, with 8 billion people in this world, there is somebody out there who needs the knowledge that you have on whatever subject it is. Okay? And one last thing I want to mention too, there's this, I don't think I have it with me, it's over there, but there's this book that I'm reading by Joel Arthur Barker, called Paradigms. And he talks about the 4 different types of paradigm shifters. If you don't know what a paradigm is just a set of beliefs that you have about anything, right? So you could have a certain paradigm regarding money, a paradigm regarding work, a paradigm regarding food. It's just a set of beliefs that you have that was given to you. Paradigms can be changed. They are flexible, but they're very hard to change because we don't know that we can change them. And he goes on to mention the 4 different types of paradigm shifters, or the 4 different types of people who end up changing and shifting paradigms. And one type that he mentioned, I can't remember the exact name, but it's basically a somebody who comes into a field who is from an unrelated field and they completely shake things up and change the way that things are done, right? So let's say that I'm a flight attendant and all of a sudden I bring my flight attendant knowledge into physics. I start to go into the field of physics, and because I'm coming from a different background or a different discipline, if I discover something that in physics that I learn, or I figure out a new way to do something, that would mean that I'm a paradigm shifter, right? And so I say all this to say, when you're learning knowledge, like, don't try to take the conventional route, if that makes sense. Don't try to think, okay, well, I'm good at math, so I guess I'll study math stuff and I'll teach people how to do math, or I'll tutor them. Like, really think outside of the box, because the knowledge that you learn and the things that you put together and create, it could be beneficial in a completely different discipline than what you think. I hope that makes sense with what I'm saying, but you never know. Like, even me as a grant writer, I love to read. I'm pretty good at reading the fine print and the details. That's why I got so many people, flight attending jobs, because I would read the requirements on the application and I would match it with theirs, and I was very good at that. So then I applied that to business and applied that to applying for grants, and it's just like those are 2 completely unrelated fields, but I made it come together. So when you're thinking of things to study, when you're thinking of, okay, well, what are my interests? What do I like? Don't just stick to what you know. Try to go outside of the box too, okay? Because it's just going to widen the knowledge that you have, and it's going to kind of broaden the reach of the people that you're going to be able to help, okay? So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully all of that made sense. And yeah, please like and comment and subscribe. If this inspired you anyway, if you kind of are learning something new right now, I would love to hear about it. I think in my next videos, I'm going to go over the different books and disciplines that I'm studying, because it's like crazy. I never thought I would be here studying these certain things like quantum physics and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. Bye.